This is the third time me making this video. And as you can tell, my face is already halfway done. I had to stop because I didn't realize my video was 27 minutes long. And I don't have an editing system. So basically, wow, I don't even know what to say right now. Okay, so basically, I was going to do a get ready with me video. Everything I have done so far is I used, where is it? I used my concealer. I have two concealers on, my CoverGirl concealer and my Be Pure concealer. I'm wearing my mascara I just finished. I used an eyelash curler. I put on my Essentially Be Pure Ageless Foundation. I used my CoverGirl Clean Compact Makeup and I just brushed it on. And that's as far as I got. And I realized I was 27 minutes in. I'm like, nobody's gonna watch this. I started kind of going off about something and it just kind of just kept going. And I'm like, I was doing a story time. I was talking about my breakups that I've had in my life. And one of the breakups that I had that was very tragic, it ended tragically. And I looked up and it was already like way too far in. And I'm like, whoa. Because I ended up talking about something else before I started talking about that. And then that's when the video started going too far. So basically, I wanted to do a story time talking about my dating life back before I met my current husband. What in the world? I was talking about a guy that I had dated back in 2015. And I started talking about how sometimes when you break up with people, it's a little bit harder than other breakups. And a lot of people just don't get that. They're like, what the hell does that even mean? You can date a bunch of people. You can be in relationships with people and just date. And you can be with a whole bunch of different people. I'm using a white eyeliner. I have really bad water retention in my face today because I have PMS and really bad. So I'm just going to use this today to open up my eyes. But anyways, you can date people, but there's that one person that you date that you don't really forget about. And it's one that affects you deeply. Now, this is my second marriage. Yes, I've been married twice. My first marriage, oh, I did it again. I always take this stupid cat, that's what's going on, the pencil sharpener, and I always jam my lead in the dang thing because I keep losing this stupid cap that goes with this dang thing. What the crap? Why do I keep doing that? Dude, I lost the cap again. Oh, me and this white eyeliner, I'm telling you, we've been through the struggle over here. Anyways, I'll find it later. My first marriage ended because we were just, we both were really young. We were only 20, I was only 27, he was 28. We didn't really know what we were doing. We got into a situation that I guess neither one of us were prepared for. We didn't really get the logistics of the situation that we were in, aka my daughter, aka it was time to grow up, aka it was time to move on financially and get better jobs and you name it. Well, guess what? The pressure pretty much just cracked us. We didn't really survive because of it. I am using a, this is actually concealer, but I bought it and it's too dark for me. It's for a dark woman. I don't care though. I use it as concealer. Not concealer. I use it for contouring. Anyways, so we ended up snapping under the pressure because we just didn't work anymore. He didn't want the responsibility. I was ready to, I guess, no, I wasn't. I wasn't really ready to be in the position that I was in. I didn't get it. And I was gonna say I lost another cap. So we just kind of fell apart. Now, when this had happened at that time, I didn't really picture it happening because me and my ex-husband are a lot alike, but we're not at the same time. We are, but we're not. We had just come from two different backgrounds, but we had come from the same neighborhood. We had the same friends. We had the same stories, kind of like in a way. We came, like I said, we came from the same neighborhood. So we basically knew like what was up in the neighborhood. If he said somebody's name, I knew who it was. If I said somebody's name, he knew who it was. It was all the same. The problem is, at that time, I don't think either one of us wanted to admit to our flaws. We didn't want to admit what we were doing. We're just too young. Both of us were just too young, and it just didn't work. We needed to grow, both of us. We needed to go through struggles and face the world on our own. I needed to face the world on my own. I know that I did. Looking back, if I could go back in time and tell myself, I'd say, girl, no matter how much this hurts, you are not ready for this relationship. You don't know anything. You know nothing. And I didn't. I wasn't even a good mother. I didn't properly take care of my daughter. I didn't get what it was to be a parent. I didn't get nothing. And I wasn't ready. God knew I wasn't ready. He knew I was not ready for that relationship. So we fell apart. So I got back into the dating scene around late 2014, early 2015. Now, I had dated a couple of guys before I got into this relationship. One guy that I had dated was, what a trick. He was the man, like, he was my fantasy guy. It was purely fantasy. Back when I was in my 20s, actually my late teens all the way up until my early 20s, I was a huge, huge fan of Anne Rice. I really, really loved those books. And I really, really loved the character that everybody knows, that even knows those chronicles. You know what I'm about ready to say. All the girls fangirled about this character was the character Lestat. I was a huge fan, and I was pretty much obsessed, pretty much all the way from my late teens all the way into like my mid-20s. Anyways, blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, mysterious, everything. I loved it. Well, when I got into the dating scene, I was really, really going through it. I was really depressed. I was having a situation with my daughter. I didn't ever think I was going to see my daughter ever again. And I didn't have any money. I had a car, but I didn't have any money. I kept losing money left and right. I was still in medical school at that time. I was still struggling. I was still trying to get through medical school. I just kept pushing myself every day to keep going. Future was looking pretty bleak, and I was just really depressed. I was living back with my parents again. We already know that story. Abuse. But anyways, the bottom line is my life sucked at that time. So the one day, me and my father ended up going to a local McDonald's because I was having a really bad day that day, and my parents knew it. So my dad looked at me and said, let's go to McDonald's. He's like, you can go get whatever you want. Like, whatever. I smoked a lot of weed before we left. I was really high. I do remember that. I basically just got high and drunk that whole entire year because I was so depressed at that time. So I left and I went to McDonald's with him, and my dad was up at the counter. He was ordering, and I remember I've always been a huge fan of Guns N' Roses. Like, don't get me started. I love those guys. And I'm a huge, huge fan of Axl Rose. Like, I've never met him. I've never been to one of their concerts. But I love him. I love that guy. They got me through really, really, really low points when I was in my teenage years with my parents and abuse. and just got me through a lot of shit. And I just always loved those guys. I love their music and him in general, because a lot of his background mirrored my background. So it was just kind of like, he's my soulmate. I'm just kidding. Anyways, so I basically was just sitting there, bummed the fuck out, irritated, going through it, high as fuck. And my dad was at the counter, he was ordering, and I look across the room, and I see this guy, and he's sitting over in the corner, long blonde hair, and he kind of had, I don't remember exactly what he was wearing, because I just locked in on this. Like, I just saw his face and his hair and the way he was built, and I was like, it was, it was crazy. All of a sudden, I kid you not, okay, so he's got this whole vibe, right? He starts singing Guns N' Roses. One of my all-time favorite songs starts coming out of this guy's mouth. It's Patience. Now, I don't know this guy at all. I've never met this guy in my life. I don't know this guy at all. And I'm not the type of person to walk up to somebody. I just don't. Maybe it was the weed, I don't know, or maybe it was just me being fucking depressed and I didn't care anymore what people thought of me. I felt a sudden urge to just walk up to this guy, right? I know. Good job, Mickey. Just walk up to a strange guy. His mother was there with him. She had no idea who the hell I am. But I walked up to him, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something about Guns N' Roses. And I said to him, I'm a huge fan. I said, of Guns N' Roses. So weird you're singing that. I said, I love that song, you know, blah, blah, blah. And his eyes were blue. I'm dying over here on the inside. I'm like, you know, he's everything that I want in a guy. And he's sitting here singing this. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, this is not real. This isn't real. I'm like, somebody's going to pinch me and I'm going to wake up, right? And all I did is said to him, I can't remember much of what I said. And I gave him my phone number. I was like, fuck it, you know, I'm expecting a call. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, hey, man, you know, he was like, cool, you know, he was awesome. This guy was totally awesome. He wasn't a dick. He wasn't mean. He was like, sure. He's like, awesome. He's like, yeah, we can hang out sometime. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go die in a corner now. I'm just gonna go pass out someplace. So I came back to the table. My dad's standing there. He's holding like a cup pop. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even care. You know, my dad's like, whatever. You know, he knew I was going through it, so he didn't care. He's like, whatever. Picking up people at McDonald's, Mike. I was like, yep. So we ended up going home, and I told my dad told my mom about it. What a jerk. And my mom's like, oh, that's so cool. You know, my mom thought it was great because she was like all for me dating. And she was like, yeah, like, you know, my mom's so cool. I'm like, yeah, he's never going to call. My mom was my cheerleader. My mom's like, you don't know that. She's like, he could call. And like, he's not going to call. My mom was like, nobody does that anymore. I was like, nobody calls. I was like, nobody cares. I don't care anymore. I just want to date. I just want to, or not date. I just want to throw myself out there because I don't care anymore. All I got going in my life right now is my car that's sitting out in the parking lot, and that's it. And I just had a hope and a dream my life was going to get better. That's it. I had $500 in my bank account. I didn't give a frick about anything anymore. I was fed up with life. And I was like, he's going to call. You never know. My mom, such a huge cheerleader, right? So my mom comes to me later on that afternoon. She goes, it's him. And she's holding the phone. And I'm like, what? And she goes, it's the rocker guy. It's the rocker guy. I'm like, I don't know what to say at this point because I didn't expect this dude to call. I'm like, I'm having like a panic attack on the phone, but I'm trying to keep it cool, you know, trying to keep it cool, trying to keep it together. So I did. I'm like, hello? He's like, hey, Guns N' Roses over here. I'm like, yeah, Guns N' Roses, you know. Great way to open a conversation. We didn't know what to say to each other. We didn't know each other, but that's what got us to talk. Was Guns N' Roses. So thank you very much, Guns N' Roses. You opened up that conversation. So Needless to say, we ended up going out. We ended up going on a couple of dates. This is where the story goes bad. So, universe loves to pull tricks on you, right? So I found out, the funny part about this is he ended up telling me when his birthday was, and don't remember how we got on this conversation. He told me that his birthday was November 7th, and I about shit myself because everything was just a little bit too weird. It was starting to get kind of like scary in a way, because the character that I liked in the story, and everybody that knows these stories knows that his character, or the character Lestat's birthday is on November 7th. He had blue eyes, he had blonde hair, so did this guy that I was dating. Everything just started to get kind of scary, and it just started to get kind of weird. But I couldn't help myself, but I sound like that song, but I couldn't help, but I was falling in love with this guy, and it was just getting very obvious that I was. Unfortunately, I ended up finding out a little too late. I did not know. Here comes the bad part. He was 19, you guys. He was only going on 20. And I was 27 years old at that time. I had no idea how old he was. He never told me. The shitty part was he didn't tell me how old he was until after we had broke up. Because I couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. Because it was just, everything was divine in the stars. Like, everything was perfect about this whole entire meeting. He was only going on 20 years old. So things started to kind of make sense. I started to realize how immature he was about a lot of things, and he just wasn't, because I could never really figure out why he acted a certain way, or, you know, things that he would say, he wouldn't know what I'm saying, or things like that. And I'm like, that's weird, you know. But I never put two and two together. He didn't look like he was 19. He looked like he was almost my age. Like, he looked like he was in his 20s. Well, I found out he had a hard life. He ended up living on the streets. His mom and dad basically treated him like crap. He was smart, and he got out when he was like 16. He got out. I didn't. Anyways, and when you live on the streets at such a young age, it does stuff to you, you know. You start to physically just, you don't look good anymore. It's a hard life, you know. You're facing the temperatures, that does things to your skin. It'll give you wrinkles. But trust me, his wrinkles were not those kind of wrinkles, but he was fine. But unfortunately, he was young. He wanted to be free. I didn't know how young he was. And he was seeing other girls, and he was talking to other ladies, and I didn't know it. I knew that as much as we had in common, I knew that we weren't on the same page. And I knew that, and he knew it too. He was mature about it. He was, mature about the whole entire, it wasn't going to work out kind of thing. He wasn't rude about it or anything. He was just honest. He told me the honest truth was that it was the age gap. He said there's a lot of things like, I don't know what you're saying and you don't know what I'm saying. He's like, there's a lot of, problems with that. And maybe it was a cop-out. Maybe it was just a way of, maybe he was afraid. I don't really believe in age, to be honest. I don't, because I believe that it's just a number. I don't really believe how old you are defines a relationship. I think that's the love that you have for each other that defines the relationship. Yes, there's going to be issues. There's going to be, sometimes there might be something you're like, you don't know what each other's talking about. Big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just teach each other. Like, and it also opens up new things. Like, you can learn things from each other, right? The main part of it was that he just wanted to date, which it was fine. He was only 20 years old. He was only 20. I was already married. I had already been through everything, and he was doing the right. I wasn't mad at him. I still wanted to be friends. He didn't. He said that I was going that he was going to lead me on. And he didn't want me to continue to keep getting hurt, which is a mature thing to say. And it's the right thing to say instead of hurting somebody. And he probably was right. I probably would have continued to keep pushing the relationship, and I would have just got hurt in the long run, and he would have continued to keep hurting me on accident, and he wouldn't have wanted that. So he was a gentleman about it. And, you know, did it hurt like hell? Yes. Oh my God. It hurt bad. So we didn't talk anymore. That was very strange. I remember we broke up right before Valentine's Day. I ended up buying him candy and like all this stuff. Oh, I just broke my Drew Barrymore. Oh man. Oh, I gotta fix that. And I remember going in my car. I was putting something away, or I was getting something out of my car, and I found his Valentine's Day gift in the back of my trunk, and I was like, I just started crying. You know, it was really, really, it was a really sad time. But anyways, after that, I kind of just gave up on the dating life again. But when I was in medical school, one of my friends heard my story. They heard about me and my dating problems, and they heard that I was kind of going through it. One of my friends was standing behind me, and she looked at me and she goes, you know, my son is single. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I mean, I could set you guys up on a blind date. I'm like, a blind date? You know, I had never been on a blind date. And I'm like, or she said, I can just give you his Facebook. I'm like, all right, well, I'll do the Facebook thing because I don't do blind dates. So this video is 22 minutes long again. Whatever. I'm not really going to get into that story because it's going to take too long, and also maybe I'll just save that for a part 2. But I'm not going to get into that because it's way, way too long of a story, and I know that this video is getting way out of control right now. So this is just going to be a part 1. I'll save that story for another video. But let me tell you this. If you're dating, you're going to go through a lot of breakups before you get to that one person. And you're going to go through a lot of heartbreak. When I went through my breakups, the only thing I kept telling myself was, these are just people that you meet along the journey that are going to make you get to that one final destination, that person that's going to be the love of your life, and that's going to be the one. And when that happens, you'll know. You'll just know. So anyways, that's it. I'm done. This is 23 minutes long. I'm going to do a part 2. I'll talk about the other date life another day. I just wanted to do a little story time, get ready with me. And I have to go downstairs and make a new cup of coffee because coffee is disgusting. So, peace out, you guys. Thank you for watching my videos, and thank you for commenting. All the ones that do. I really, really like you guys. I think you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for commenting on my videos. And I hope to speak to y'all again soon.